Greetings from the Nutmeg TV studios. I'm Eric DeMeo. Welcome to Behind the Show, a program created by Nutmeg TV to honor the folks in our community that are producing shows for your benefit and enjoyment. In other words, the content on this channel, for the most part, comes from regular people like you who decided that they'd like to give television a try. I wanted to see what makes them tick, how they got the idea to produce their program, and how they made it happen. So get ready for the show about a show, starting right now. So my guest tonight is the one and only Dawn Lombardi from The Crack of Dawn. Dawn, thank you for being with me today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Absolutely.
Wonderful.
So you're back on Nutmeg TV. You had The Crack of Dawn a while back, about 10 years ago. And I have to say, there is such a buzz about your show. You're getting a ton of views on YouTube. We're getting phone calls. You even have fans that work for a primetime network syndicated shows in New York City. So what do you make of all this? People are buying Nutmeg hats because of you.
It's really cool. I didn't expect it. You know, after all this time being back, my focus was to raise the kids, and they were little back then, just getting into school, getting into sports, and so that was my focus. And then I just thought, you know what, I'm ready to come back.
Cool, great. Well,
yeah,
we're happy to have you.
I'm really excited.
So let's get to know you a little better. Okay. First of all, where'd you grow up? Where were you born?
So I was born in Northampton, Massachusetts, which is a great place to grow up. Very liberal, and nobody cares what you do or what you say or what you drive or what you wear, which is kind of nice. Okay. Introduced to a lot of different folks out there, lots of artists, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yep. And then my mom and dad raised us in the middle of the woods in West Hampton, Massachusetts. Okay. And then we were raised out there, had a lot of land, a lot of animals. And then when it was time to go back to high school, I had the option of going to Northampton High School, which I wanted to do because I was kind of sick of the woods. I liked it, but like you know. Gotcha. Yeah.
So what'd your parents do?
So my parents were both teachers. My mom was a kindergarten teacher, and my dad was a chemistry teacher. Okay. And both for, long tenure, same school. Now teachers switch like every 4 years. They go somewhere else. And back then, when teachers were teachers, they taught at the same school for, I think my dad was like 40-something years. Wow. My mom a little less because my sister had some issues with health. But yeah, so it was great upbringing. So
a sister, do you have any other brothers and sisters?
I have one sister. We're Irish twins. She's about 10 or 11 months older than I am. I think 10. And lives in Boston. And she's good at art too. My mom and dad and my sister are good at art. But it was we always, you kind of, when your kid wants to say, I'm going to be a dancer or an actor, or, you're kind of, depends. My parents kind of turned me into art education just because, so I'd have a job if I needed one. Yeah. Right,
makes sense. All right, so have you always been artistic?
Yes, yep, from an early age. My parents always had art supplies around. We had a lot of animals, so that was kind of fun. Not a lot of rules. We didn't have strict parents at all, which is really nice.
Sounds nice, yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. You'd think they were because they were teachers, but no.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, what's it like to have have teachers as parents?
They were like very active. I mean, my dad played basketball with his high school students like until he was like in his 60s. He was playing with the different teachers. My mom had different teacher friends. They weren't afraid to leave us home alone, We had babysitters here and there, but my dad was very active with the school's match wits. Gotcha. So he did that. Cool. And my mom always played bridge, which everybody, bridge is like nobody plays unless you're like 90 years old. So my mom was really into bridge. It's a smart people thing, so I could never do it. But now my dad plays. So
when did you start painting?
So I started painting. It was really one of the only subjects I was good at. So that was great. And in 4th grade, I had Mrs. Piper, and she would have like a coloring contest, not really like a drawing or painting, but I won every time. And so finally they started basically making me not win, because it's sort of like now every kid gets a trophy. They were pulling it away from me.
Give someone else a chance.
Yeah, to give somebody else a chance. So that's when we first noticed it. And then I just went with it. I was good at acting. I was good at all the arts, except cooking. So
when was it specifically painting?
I would say...
Because to me, I've always thought it's just such a daunting thing to start.
It's something you've got to like. It's messy, you know. There's a lot of mess involved, and you know, my art teachers were always a little out there, which was fun. You know, they were always a little out there, but encouraged me, and I think I just had that natural ability too. Yeah.
So for folks that haven't seen your show, it's a painting show, much like you know, one of our favorite people, Bob Ross.
I love Bob Ross.
So each episode, you take us through basically an artwork piece. You know.
Yes, and he would go off on a tangent every now and then and talk about his animals or his birds or health and safety, and it was a lot of fun. I liked watching him. He was very calming. I don't know if I'm so calming, but he was very calming.
Well, you do have something in common with him, because it's not only that you're a good painter and a good instructor, but you have this fun personality, and you're really funny and zany.
Zany.
So we really love that and enjoy that, and you know, that's a big reason why we do this show, is to kind of honor people in the community that are doing really great stuff for Nutmeg TV or on Nutmeg TV. So like I said before, we're happy to have you here. So after high school, we went to college?
So after high school, you know, my dad, whatever, we didn't really care where we went. So my dad was like, "You're going to go here, is that cool?" I'm like, "Okay." And then my sister, "You're going to go here." I mean, I don't know how much time was spent on it because it was so long ago, but I remember not having like picks, like not saying like, this is my #1 choice and this is my second, whereas kids now sort of have a list. I just kind of, my dad's a very good guy and he's a good mentor, and we always trust my parents. So, you know, if Dad says go here, we were like, okay. And so I went up to Marymount College in New York, Westchester County, all girls. So being from Northampton, I was a little sick of the all girls. You know, nothing against that. I just didn't care. But, you know, I was ready to be more co-ed.
Right.
So I was up there. I probably should have stayed because all my Marymount girls are settled down very nicely, all really nice girls. Then I transferred to Boston University with my roommate, Moon, who just wanted to get out of there too. I think same thing. Her dad was kind of like, "Moon, this place will be great for you." So we both were like, in hindsight, I wish I stayed because BU was huge and it was just a little overwhelming for me. You know, getting to class, and you know, Marymount was a much smaller all-girls campus, and so BU was big. But I learned a lot because that school is, you know, almost like second to Yale as, you know, classical training.
Okay, for art?
Yeah, very classical. So you got nudes, lots of still lifes. Do whatever you want, you know, until you pick that as a major. But for 3 years straight, you have to paint like nudes, still lifes, which is formal training.
So do you think your art improved drastically, you know, when you got to college or throughout college? Yeah,
I think my professors were good. The people I went to school with were great. Not many of us are painters. Scott Hunter, I think, is still a painter. Marie Jose Romero, she's from Mexico. She's still painting. Kat Murphy, she's still painting down in New London. She's a great painter. They were all great painters. It's just who stuck with it and who's making money. Jason Berard from Vermont. There were some serious painters. Nicole Schmidt out of New York City. Some real good talent there.
Cool.
We all worked together. There was a very small clique.
That sounds awesome.
It was really fun.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool. So how do you get to start selling your work?
That's tricky. So commissions I don't really actually like to do because people are in charge of me, even though I'm the artist. And they should be, I guess, in a certain way. But when you're done with something and you know, it's tricky. Commissions are hard. It's better painting whatever you want, having a show, and then when someone's, "Oh, I like that one," that's easier. You know, the price tag's already there. There's no, "Oh, can you fix this?" or "How much is it without the frame?" or
So do you remember the first piece you sold?
First piece I sold was more money than I sell now.
Yeah.
So it was a painting. I lived in Aspen, Colorado.
Wow.
For a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't afford it, and it made me very, I'm not a jealous person, but
also
good God, I couldn't live there.
Another very artistic town.
It was cool. I was a maid, and I cleaned Cher's house. I cleaned Madonna's room. I cleaned Buddy Guy's.
Wow.
He actually stayed at our place. He was probably the coolest guy we had. But I love being a maid because nobody yells at you. You just clean and then you leave. And, and there's no boss. Oh, you forgot this. So I stayed out there because my roommate was a music major.
Okay.
And I went out there and I did a painting of my roommate Naomi playing her cello next to a bicycle. And I showed that painting when I was, I think, 18 years old at Cooley Dickinson Hospital in Northampton. And you don't really like having shows at hospitals, but it's funny because the doctors work there and, you got the coin.
Sure.
So he was walking by and he saw this one of Naomi and he said it looked just like his wife. So I think it was like $1,300.
Wow.
Which was a lot because I don't really make that much right now. And I was 18 years old.
For today's money, that's a lot. So
Yeah.
back then, yeah.
So that was fun. And then actually Johnny Depp came to a show in Northampton at that same hospital. I don't know what he was doing at the hospital, but I think he was filming a show in the area and maybe something happened. I don't know what happened, but he came by and I've never heard from him, but the director of the show did. So it's pretty fun. So that was the first sale, and then it went all downhill from there.
Well, let's see. What did you do after college?
So after college, I got a teaching degree. I got my degree in art education.
Okay.
Instead of painting, just because my dad and mom were like, you know what, you need something just in case, to fall back on.
Well, they were teachers, so
which was smart. So I started teaching in Northampton and then Chicopee, Massachusetts, and then I moved to Connecticut because, believe it or not, Connecticut paid $10,000 more than Massachusetts teachers.
Okay.
So moved here, got my master's degree, and taught for 9 years, and then my husband was like, let's have some kids, and I was like, no. And that was just because I was a teacher. I was like, I got to quit. I got to stay home. Got to raise my own kids. I don't care how poor we are, but I wanted to raise my own kids. Yeah. And I was a pretty nutty mother. There were not many rules, skateboarding through the house and riding bicycles across the living room. I just kind of liked it like that.
Yeah, that's how I would like it too. Sounds
nice.
It
was kind of nice.
Yeah. So
lucky.
You have 2 kids?
I have 2 kids. Boy is 14 now, and the girl is 11.
Okay. Are they artistic?
They are. They're very good, and I think they know. They're like, they get it. It's hard to be, an artist, no matter what kind of artist you are.
Do you show them how to do things?
Yeah, and they were allowed, even when they were 2 and they saw that I had fancy canvas and they had crappy paper, I always made sure to get them canvas. And I have this gigantic painting above my husband and I, our bed. It's huge because one day, it's about as big as this. Yeah. And one day my daughter's like, oh, I bought 2 of them, one for a commission, maybe of a horse. And then she said, can I use one of those? I said, yeah, why not? And she started with like watercolors, and it ended up looking sort of like a galaxy of stars, and it came out great. So, I have lots of their paintings. Cool.
Are they good at taking instruction, or do they get a little annoyed?
They kind of do whatever they want. I never kind of tell them how to do it.
Okay.
My daughter did a portrait of me once. She must have been 6 years old. I still have it. It's pretty good for 6 years old. So she's good. Cool. And he's good too. But hopefully, maybe they'll do something else. Whatever they want.
Yep. So let's see. Let's switch gears a little bit. You've worked for some pretty big names: Governor Rowland, George W. Bush. How did all that come about?
So, I always say, don't ask, don't get. That's kind of my friend Felisa down in Florida. Only met her once, and it was like instant. When you meet someone, it's like instant attraction. You're friends forever. Sure. But she had said later on, don't ask, don't get. And that was kind of a reminder of how I've been. In other words, like, you can't lose, you can't lose by asking. Right, so I remember I was driving to work. I worked at Young Audiences of Connecticut, which is like an artsy kind of thing. It was in Hamden at the time. I think it still is. And I heard on the radio, looking for artists to do, I think it was the John Rowland's Christmas cards. I can't remember. It might have been the White House. But I went in, I worked with a bunch of artists, and I said, come on, you guys, everybody, let's apply, come on. And they're like, oh, no, that's not going to happen. And I'm like, well, I'm drawing an eagle because that's what it says. It says draw a picture of a bird and fax it on over. And none of the girls I did or worked with, none of them did it. sure enough, back comes, you're qualified, and you then, I think the White House came first, I can't remember. And then sure enough, Patty Rowland was a wonderful woman, and John was a great guy too. I worked mostly with Patty. But she wanted their Christmas card designed, which went to, I think, like 13,000 of them were made.
Wow.
And ornaments, which was fun.
Cool.
She told me exactly what she wanted. I went over to the governor's mansion in Hartford. They couldn't have been nicer, wonderful. And then that probably led to the White House. It probably goes governor to president, but I don't know. It could have been reversed.
Mm-hmm. What'd you do for Mr. Bush?
And so for the Bushes, I actually, brought a special treat. I got this sneaky email saying that, the artwork couldn't go to the White House. It had to go to this other address. I think it was in Maryland or D.C. No, it was Arlington, Virginia or something.
Yeah.
But it was a different girl. So I did 2 paintings, small, like a postcard. And it was a Year of the Birds. That was the theme. So I had to do a black-throated blue warbler or something like that, and an eagle.
Okay.
They had to weigh a certain amount. I had to weigh them every time I painted on them because they would be disqualified if I didn't meet the standards. And then my husband and I went to the White House and met Laura Bush. President Bush was, I can't remember his name because it's a fancy name, but he's an older guy. He had died and he was at the services, but she was wonderful. And it was a great experience.
Yeah, I bet. Cool.
So after all these feathers in my hat, I'm still just a regular, same old Joe like everybody else, but I kind of like it like that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Mr. Bush is a painter.
He's good.
Yeah, he's not too bad.
I got the book. Well, I got the book, and I don't read a lot just because I'm too busy painting. Mm-hmm. So Pet Sematary was one of the only books I actually got through, and that was a long time ago. But I get through a couple pages, and if I get bored, I can't do it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I just can't do it. So I got his book and was in tears because all of the people that he painted were all vets.
Wow.
And, my grandfather was the director of the VA hospital, and I didn't know much about him because I never met him. But reading about, I didn't know major, colonel, lieutenant, all that stuff, and how they go up in ranks, and all of the PSTD that they go through. So it was a great book, so I highly recommend it. And he's a great painter.
Yeah. Who would have thought, right? So you're really community-minded. You've done a lot of work for charities. Can you tell us about some of that?
Well, I used to do loads of charities, pretty much anybody that asked. United Way, anything. Anybody that asked me, I did it. And now I've sort of honed it in on, charities that are more related to me, more respectful to me, actually.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of ones in Northampton. I like to do the Pettit Foundation because I've gotten to know their family, and they're so nice, so nice. I like Minute Bowl, was in touch with a preacher named Tom Pritchard.
Okay.
And Tom is a preacher, and he is in charge of Sudan Sunrise.
Yeah, I'm hosting a show with a sports guy in a few minutes. I never would have thought on this episode we would talk about Minute Bowl of all people.
It's pretty cool. I didn't even know who he was. I'm like, who's that?
Yeah, one of the tallest NBA players ever.
Yeah. So I went down, I met him. He was a very humble, wonderful guy.
They say he's really nice, yeah.
Wonderful. And so Billy Grant supports him too. So went down to Grant's. Minute was there. I've got a great picture of him. He looks better than I do, but I remember him when he got up. We were sitting, like, he was at the bar. I don't think he was drinking, but he was at the bar anyway because he probably couldn't fit anywhere else. And when he got up, it was like an ironing board kind of like unraveling. And he was so huge, but such a nice man.
Yeah.
So I'll do anything because the thing about Minute's charities is Tom told me, even if I raise $400 for one of my paintings, and it made me cry really, because $400 for the Hartford, hospital or whatever, that's nothing for them. They're bidding on things that are thousands, but $400 for a painting for a school that Minute founded in Sudan
goes a long
feeds
way.
The whole school for the whole year.
That goes a long way. That's great.
That makes me happy. Yeah. So anytime Tom's in town, I tell him, take whatever you want.
Yeah, I think he gave like the majority of all the money he's ever made to his hometown. So.
And I've got lots of people on Facebook. I don't friend all of them because, again, I don't know these people. They're from South Sudan or Sudan, so I don't know. But a couple of them got Luke Nyong. He's pretty much the only one that I keep in touch with on social media, just because he tells me the real deal. I'll say, what's going on there? Is everybody okay? And then I get these pictures that you're not going to see at the USA Today. You're not going to see them in the local newspaper. It's pretty sad.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what do you do at the Bristol Senior Center?
So the Bristol Senior Center is great because I've always taught public schools. So these older people are kind of like me. I'm kind of conservative. You wouldn't know that because everybody thinks like, oh, Dawn, she's from Northampton, she's crazy. I'm pretty conservative. You know, I don't like to hang my laundry everywhere, but I also think that it's good to be truthful. So I really don't lie either. So, you know, if someone asks me something, I'm like, yeah, that's the way it is. But yeah, so. So
what do you do there?
So I teach painting. I've got about, let's see, maybe 35 artists, 2 different classes.
Wow.
I have a beginners and an advanced, and we don't care. So if someone doesn't want to wake up at 9:30 in the morning and they're advanced, but it's the beginning, we just switch it up. If someone has a doctor's appointment, it reminds me that I'm going to get old one of these days too, and the Bristol Senior Center is 55 and older, so I'm creeping up there.
So you also, by the time this episode airs, it might be past, but you have a gallery or a show at Miss Porter's.
Miss Porter's.
Right down the road from Nutmeg TV.
Right. So Miss Porter's is a great show to have. You get a lot of, it's a little high security now just because it's the day and age.
Yeah.
So the show is hanging in the main building, which is the brick building on Main Street, and it's in where the dining hall is. And the painting instructor there, oh, he's fantastic. He's such a nice guy.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's just great. And so he gave me one show in 2012, and then now I'm back. I think it was 2012.
Cool.
So I try to get some shows around. I try to use local venues too.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So it's fun.
So you did a painting of Tom Brady, and I hear it's going to be on display at Gillette Stadium. That's where the Patriots play. Is that correct?
That is actually 15 paintings.
Oh, 15 paintings.
15 paintings. So again, don't ask, don't get. I was
right.
At a football game, which I do not go to sports events that often. And I don't really know what's going on or who anybody is, but my friend is, a lot of my friends are just, it depends on which friend, but you know, if I really like someone, I'll go anywhere with them. So this girl's easy, she drives, I don't like to drive.
Yeah.
So we went up and there was a gallery and I said, you know, can I show here? And sure enough, you know, that's coming up, so I'm excited, and I've never painted a football player in my life.
That's really cool.
It's fun.
I mean, I'm not a Patriots fan, but we have a lot of Patriots fans.
Oh yeah, who do you like?
I'm a Dolphins fan.
Oh yeah, Jimmy. Didn't Amendola go to?
Yeah,
I know that. Yeah, because I was
yeah.
painting him, and someone's like, he just went to Dolphins. So I don't paint him. I'm like, okay.
Anyway, well,
That's fun.
Let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
So, say I'm watching your show, which I have done a few times, and I get inspired, which I've also, you know, you're very inspiring because you make it seem so easy and it looks easy. So without getting into like where you have to go to buy supplies, because we shouldn't be too commercial here.
Right.
What would I need to get started? You know, the basics.
So, you know, sometimes they'll have canvas in different stores, and you can buy like 5 at a time so that you're saving money, sort of like when you buy in bulk at Aldi or wherever you save money by buying in bulk. So basically, you just need any sort of canvas. You can get it anywhere. There's so many stores now. Even, you know, the Big W store, they got everything. So, you know, whether or not you support local or you want to go here or there, you can get everything online. I recommend starting with acrylic, just because the oil paint is very toxic.
Do you use acrylic on your show?
On my show, sometimes. I haven't, back 10 years ago, I did do the oils. But I can't remember really. It's been a while since I've done the oils. But I prefer the oils because I was trained with the oils. But they take very long to dry. And they're kind of frustrating. So
for a beginner, acrylics is better?
I would do the acrylics, yep.
Okay, well, I'm going to get started then.
And then, you know, cup of water, you know, coffee cup, 1 brush, 2 brushes. You don't really need a lot. And it does not cost a lot of money.
Okay. And so folks know that if you can't catch it on Nutmeg TV or on YouTube, and like I said, your YouTube videos are getting a lot of hits. So, and that's a lot better too, because you can go back and rewind. You know, so a lot better than on TV.
Yeah, I'm not getting it. Like my son made a video of how to make a joystick on his phone on it's crazy because, you know, he's a smart kid, but I didn't realize he was that smart.
Yeah.
He has like 7,500 views, you know,
wow.
on his thing. And I'm like, wait a minute, I only have like, he's like, well, Mom, you know, I'm
Well,
a kid.
you have a lot of views compared to, well.
I'm glad.
Mm-hmm. So how did you hear about Nutmeg TV? Like, did you always know about community television?
Flipping channels, and I, you know, I don't like what other people like, you know. I'm not very trendy. I like setting trends, but I don't go with trends.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I'm always surfing around, and if I saw something on Nutmeg, I can't remember. I like those crazy stop bitching and start a revolution. I remember searching through there, and I was like, gosh, I mean, I can do something.
They were
like
pretty
that.
out there.
They were out there,
yeah.
and you know, I'm pretty good with the, you know, I have a lady's mouth, so, you know, I was brought up that way, and, you know, I know all the swears too, but I just don't practice them or use them in regular small talk.
Okay, so you're back now. So has the process been easy, difficult? I mean, what's different now compared to back then?
I noticed back then the kids were little, like just born little.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, oh, you guys just don't do too much Fortnite or whatever they're doing at home. So now it's a little easier, and I do like to wing it. It works better that way. So I really don't have a clue what I'm doing until maybe sometimes 10 minutes before I get in here.
That was my next question. How much preparation goes into the episodes?
Like zero, you know, and I like it like that. It's kind of fun. I think people are getting that like, wow, she's like, it's sort of like that movie Tootsie with Dustin Hoffman, where she's like, they're like, uh-oh, where's she going now? You know, she's going off script, and it's like, uh-oh, set the cameras. But yeah, I do like to wing it, and that's kind of my style.
Okay, so for the folks at home, if you know, even if it's not a painting show, you can come to Nutmeg TV and really do a show without too much hassle. So that would be great.
And if you want to be a guest on the Crack of Dawn, I'm still looking for guests.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So we're kind of running out of time, but I did want to talk about one of the episodes I was watching. You had some really good tips about, you know, how to combat bullying or what to do when people are kind of making fun of you. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I've had some experiences with my own kids, and you know, basically with the lawsuits and everything, they do nothing. So, you know, nothing against my public schools, because it's just the way it is, really. So you really have to figure out how to teach your kids yourself instead of looking for authorities to stick up for you.
Sure, yeah.
Because even when you and I were kids, you're a lot younger than I am, but I mean, it was kind of just like, oh, well. I mean, I remember my sister had quite a problem with a kid, and, you know, there was nothing you can do. And now, you know, report it or this or that, but you really have to take the bull by the horns. And, you know, I always say, you know, just say, I love it. And, you know, if you have that sort of personality.
So if someone's making fun of your shirt or something.
Yeah. If someone's like, you know, you look awful, you know, or, you know, you've gained weight, you just be like, I love it. It's fantastic, you know, or anything that someone's going to say. And so my kids are very quiet like their father. So they're really basically nothing like me, but they're fun at home and stuff, but they know their boundaries. They know how to treat other people. I've been telling them, I have a super good friend that I go grocery shopping, actually 2 girls, but we're very honest with our kids at a very young age. And so instead of letting them run into these barriers when it's too late, you know, I've been discussing it with my kids for a long time, and just be nice to everybody.
Well, I love it too.
Yeah, so it kind of works.
Well, thank you so much for being on Behind the Show.
That went really quick.
Yeah, so viewers, if you want to catch Crack of Dawn, like I said, it's on YouTube, and it's on Tuesdays at 8:30 on Nutmeg TV. So with that, we will bid you good night, and thanks again for being on the show.
I love it.